Relax. You gotta just chill out, man.
Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is Steel Curtain Network editor Dave Schofield coming at you Tuesday night, a little bit after 9 o'clock. Where else would you rather be? And with me as always, except when he's not, is my big brother Rich. Big Bro Scho, how does it go tonight?
Goes okay. But Dave, what's up? Things look different on your end of the screen.
Yeah, things might look a little bit different. Hopefully I'm not freezing. Hopefully things are coming through all right. It seems like I had a pretty good internet signal. Then every once in a while it does fade in and out. So I'm going to do my best to be here with our Steelers fam. I am on location this week for spring break. I'm adjusting my spring break forward so that way I am ready to go for the start of the league year next week. It's exciting. There's a lot of news going on. We'll have new members of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll have members of last year's Pittsburgh Steelers team moving on to other places. There'll be all kinds of news going on around all over the NFL, and I will make sure I'll probably be doing my tracker article of just moves that are happening. And I'll be ready to do all that. Hopefully, I'm still coming with you all right. I hope I'm not breaking up too much. Hopefully, I'm nice and loud enough because I have a different setup, but that's why you see these hideously ugly curtains in the background, because that's right. This is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, coming in here. Woo! How are you holding it down up? You still got snow?
No, we do not have snow. We hit 60 degrees today, so that was pretty cool.
So did we.
Although one of the weather places that I follow locally here, we're out and about today and took pictures of couple guys out on the ice fishing. I of course recognized the setup from one of them. It was actually my friend Dawn, who I spend my time ice fishing with a lot of times. But they were pretty brave because you watch the picture, they're out there on the ice, but on the one side of the ice next to the shore, there was no ice. It was just water.
Ooh, that's ice fishing sketchy enough for me. So I don't know if I want to do that.
Out where they were, I'm guessing there was probably still a half a foot of ice because I was out there last Friday and there was close to 10 inches of ice still.
Gotcha. Well, all I know is that unfortunately we don't have our viewership from Facebook. It has nothing to do with me and my connection. It's just one of those things that it's given us an error through StreamYard again. Hopefully that it can get connected. It's funny because Andre Green says, Dave is always loud and clear. You must not listen to Pittsburgh Standard Time. Make sure you listen to that one because we've been trying to get our audio mixed properly on that one because for some reason my mic's a little bit quiet on that one. But Rich, let's talk Steelers. Let's get there. Whoa, I hope everything's okay because my screen just went black and came back. I've never had that happen with this computer before.
Nothing on our end. So
all right, that's good to know. Good to know. All right, so since we're almost there for spring break, for the start of the league year, man, I got to get my mind focused on Steelers. To start off the league year, we're so close. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to look at where we might see the biggest splash in free agency for the Steelers. We're actually going to quickly look at, just bring up a position group and say, hey, is this one you would expect a splash in free agency? If not, why? Do you expect it to be addressed to the draft? Do you expect it to be addressed in free agency but not really splash? Do you think the Steelers are fine with their numbers there outside of maybe an undrafted rookie free agent, filling out numbers after the draft's over? We're just going to dive into it that way. Now, is there any news you wanted to talk about? I know there's some news going on with the NFL, but not a lot with Steelers. Still waiting to see if the Steelers do sign one of the quarterbacks before the start of the league year. There's players getting released. There was only 2 players got franchise tagged. Any of that you want to hit, or are you ready to just dive into Steelers?
Might as well just dive into Steelers because anything else going on has kind of been covered other than the release today of Devontae Adams.
Yeah, which was kind of expected. The Jets were looking to trade him, and if not, they were going to release him. If you hear that, why would you trade? Why would you trade
Well,
him?
not just that. The Jets knew they were going to
him.
release him. They knew they were open to trading him, but nobody was going to go after that contract.
Yeah,
nobody was going after that contract.
Yes, so. I agree with you. I think that's pretty much what was going on there. So I say let's go ahead and dive into this, and we'll start with the big one. Now, here's the other thing that we need to make sure that we address, and I kind of want to get your opinion. If we're talking about a splash in free agency, would you consider the Steelers signing one of their own players from last year, regardless of how big or little the contract is? Would you really consider that free agency or not? A splash in free agency or not?
No, I don't. I do not. Not a splash.
Yeah.
It's just,
so, it's kind of its own category, isn't it?
Yes.
Bring somebody back, right? Yep. So, here, to kind of show what we're going to do tonight, I'll go ahead and start off with the one that I've said several times. I think it was this show. Maybe this is the one show I didn't say it. I know I said it on the preview. Maybe it's Pittsburgh Standard Time. I'm not sure which other one I said. But if we were to say running back, this is what I think the Steelers should do at running back for this year. I'll say it again. 3 things. Keep one, sign one, draft one. Does that sound pretty good? Did I say that on this show before?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Now, do you think the Steelers are going to have any kind of splash? If you think they're going to sign one, do you think they could have any kind of free agency splash at running back?
No. I don't. I don't think I don't necessarily think the splash comes there because, well, let me just put it this way. Well, who's out there you'd consider splash?
See, that's the question. Would you consider splash based on contract or based on name? Because to me, the Steelers still say they're going to tender Jaylen Warren, so I think that's who returns. It's not that it's impossible for Najee Harris to come back, but I don't think it's going to happen. If you're talking about a name like a Nick Chubb or an Aaron Jones or who was the guy from Dallas last year, I'm going to mess it up. I'm sure someone in the live chat can see what it is. You could maybe say that's a splash, but I also don't see it as a huge contract.
It's more of a, I wouldn't call it a splash. It's more like a plunk.
Yeah, more of a plunk. Okay. I would say running back is one of those sneaky positions that the Steelers might do more than what you expect when it comes to free agency. Just look out for that one. That might be one of those, okay. They're going to spend some money there. It's possible, but I'm not saying that it's likely or that it's probable. But that's one to look out for. So I wanted to use running back as an example because I talked about it before. So we'll dive right in with the big one because Andre Green wants to know, what are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to do about the quarterback situation? So Rich, quarterback. Do you think the Steelers are going to make a splash there in free agency?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
And you're going to say probably not because
I would kind of expect them. This is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see a re-signing of Justin Fields, and I'd like to see them target somebody in the draft.
Okay. I think that's what a lot of Steelers fans are looking for. I think that's plan A. We'll just see if plan A is actually what happens. So it's funny because Afton says there's no free agent that would be splashy. I don't know. Would people call signing Sam Darnold splashy? I don't think the Steelers should do it, but if
Yeah,
they
see, I'm
did
not
and
sure
spent a
I'd
good
call
bit of
that.
money, I would call it splashy.
See, I don't know that he's splashy.
Yeah.
Oh, name recognition and the
Yes.
amount the Steelers would overpay him, maybe.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that myself if I were the Steelers.
Yeah. So to me, I would say it's possible, but I would say it's not likely because the Steelers have said over and over that they would prefer to bring back one of the two quarterbacks from last year. Um, and a lot of people would say Justin Fields. If it doesn't end up being Justin Fields, if the Steelers get to noon on Monday and they still don't have a quarterback under contract, I was like, oh man, just wait until you just be waiting to hear that news of Justin Fields signs with so and so, or my fear is all of a sudden quarterbacks are going to be gone. If you think about it, 2 years ago, Pittsburgh Steelers they signed Mitch Trubisky pretty quick when it came to that legal tampering period. So I'm not saying it was the right call. He was the biggest name at quarterback during that free agency period too, because a lot of people, liked what he was doing as a backup in Buffalo. But that's how that worked out. So hopefully, if they don't have it wrapped up by noon on Monday, then it's not long after noon on Monday. But I agree. If the Steelers get splashy at quarterback, things may have gone wrong. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's go ahead and hit another big one. Wide receiver.
To me, if there's splash to be made, that's the first position that probably jumps out at me. Well, maybe the second.
And I don't even know I don't even know for sure what they would do. I mean, I could throw names out there, but I really don't know. I
And
think
yes,
the Steelers are going to do plenty there, but it might not be what we expect.
Yeah. Just because you look at someone that's out there and you think about fit,
Yeah.
that both from the Steelers standpoint and the player standpoint.
Yes. Yes. It's not the it's not the biggest free agent market at wide receiver right now. Although, if you want somebody like a Devontae Adams, you didn't have to wait till Monday because he was released.
Yeah.
If you want something like that, I know there was rumblings of maybe Christian Kirk would be released because the rumors that the Steelers had a deal in place for him last year with Jacksonville, and then they waited till after that game since the Steelers were on bye, and he broke his collarbone. I don't, whether or not those stories are accurate or not has never been confirmed nor denied, but that's a name, but he's not available right now. T. Higgins was one of the two players that was franchise tagged. So there's also this, someone said the name, Reginald Rivers has got it. This is the one that would not surprise me at all, is if it was Slayton from the Giants.
Yeah,
so,
which would actually be I don't want to say sneaky good signing.
Yes, it would. And I know. Was it good? Yeah, Afton has it. Goodwin would be another good one, but I don't know if he's going to leave Tampa. Just the way that's going to go. So I think the Steelers will be in the market. Now some news that if you wanted to say, because over the weekend the Deebo Samuel trade. I think that made sense for where Samuel was going to go because how much cap space Washington had. People are like, only for a fifth, you could have got Deebo Samuel. Remember, there was the reports of him being overweight last year, all kinds of stuff, and the injury problems. And that would have taken up a pretty big chunk of the Steelers' salary cap, and Washington had more space. So to me, I'm okay that the Steelers weren't in on that one. Did you want to say anything about that since we were talking about wide receivers?
No, that was in Con we trust.
Yeah. that's like, oh yeah, fifth doesn't sound so bad, but that contract didn't look so great either. Um, so yeah, I want to bring if I can go back and find it, I'm going to look for um, a comment. Oh, I found it because this is important for both the Steelers going and maybe for the Steelers buying because John Malesko asked, are we going to see more cap casualties before the league year starts? I know roster bonuses are coming up. Correct. Roster bonuses generally are around the third day of the league year. That's not the third day of the legal tampering. That's usually the league year. You're talking Friday, Saturday, something like that. You know, some of them are 5, some of them are Monday, where teams have to make decisions. I brought that up now because yes, that's true. The Steelers could still release players. If they're going to release Larry Ogunjobi, it's going to be before his roster bonus comes in because it makes no sense otherwise. If not, then he's coming back. To me, sometimes the Steelers like to drop a player after they've added somebody else to the position, like sometimes Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I remember a couple years ago when the Steelers added a Landon Roberts and dropped Miles Jack. I'm pretty sure they didn't drop Jack. Or did they drop him when they signed Cole Holcomb? They signed those two players back, on back-to-back days. I can't remember which one it was when they dropped them. But this is also important to remember because other teams could be doing this, which then adds other options for the Steelers to sign. And if the Steelers think that they're going to lose some significant players this year, like if they think maybe Russell Wilson goes on and signs a pretty big contract, maybe Najee Harris moves on and signs a pretty big contract, maybe James Daniels moves on and signs at least a decent contract, maybe that's all I really have off the top of my head right now. I'm sure there's others, but if some of those players go on, you're like, oh, well, maybe the Steelers could get a comp pick. Well, not if they sign too many compensatory free agents, which is any unrestricted free agent. But if you're, whose contract expired. But if it's a player who was released, like if you look at it as Devontae Adams, that's a whole different. He doesn't count on if someone signs him now. He doesn't count on in the compensatory formula, just like Russell Wilson didn't count for the Steelers last year. But I want the Steelers to be buyers and not worried about that. But if they start stacking a bunch of guys that don't count in the formula, then maybe that comes into play. That would be the only thing. But I would say yes, the Steelers have to worry about that. They don't have to be in a rush, but you also got to think about other teams having to do that. And someone who I could see maybe being someone that could be cut that would be a surprise cut is going to lead me into the next position group. What about offensive line, Rich? Do you think the Steelers are going to do anything in free agency with offensive line?
That tends to be where they go bargain hunting.
Yeah. Well, they didn't 2 years ago when they brought in Isaac Seumalo.
Correct.
But to me, if the Steelers decide that they think that they could make a big upgraded guard, I wouldn't be shocked if they did that and released Seumalo. Or they could do it and keep Seumalo as well. So you could see some of that stuff going on. But right now, the Steelers have so much cap space, they don't have to worry about making those other moves to stay under the cap until they start really filling it up. But I think guard's a sneaky one that you could see a more significant move than what you think could maybe be coming.
Quite possible.
So
quite possible
that they could go outside the Steelers.
Well, yes. And offensive line does tend to be one of those where the Steelers pull those sneaky moves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about the past several years that, that's where those moves have come from for the Steelers, have been there on the offensive line.
Yeah, and honestly, at guard.
Yes.
When James Daniels and then Isaac Seumalo, yeah.
Yeah. You can throw Mason McCormick in there,
Well, no, I think you mean Mason Cole.
That's who I meant. Cole.
Yeah, because McCormick is, yeah.
Gotcha. I know. To play center. And so there were some sneaky, decent signings in there, you know. So
I also wouldn't put it out that the Steelers don't do anything because they signed somebody like a Nate Herbig for a smaller deal than what he had originally, just, to give competition at guard and be there at depth of the offensive line. Maybe a week into free agency, there's not any takers on James Daniels because of his injury, and the Steelers offer him a smaller deal to say come back and see if he can win out a job, because it was early in the season, but he was playing very well to start the season.
yes.
So I could see that. So, and honestly, that might be in his best interest if there's not any takers because they're worried about the injury to do a prove-it deal in Pittsburgh. But if someone else gives him a contract, I don't blame him for taking it. So to me, I don't really see the Steelers needing to do much at center. They need to add another tackle for depth, but I don't think they're bringing in another tackle that would be like starting caliber. So I don't think it's anything splashy.
Agreed.
Yeah. And before we take a break, I almost forgot. We didn't do tight ends, did we?
No.
Yeah, I don't think they do anything with tight end.
Yeah, I don't either. I think they've had enough going on with tight end. They don't need to.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty happy with Freiermuth and Washington, let alone the other guys that they have beyond that. So, yeah, I don't see anything big going on there. Is that the entire offense? Did I miss anything with offense?
I
Running
don't
back,
think so.
quarterback, wide receiver, offensive line. All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to hit the defense and special teams quickly. Then we'll have our 5 minutes of non-Steelers talk and our big question at the end. So if you're with us here live, don't worry, we're not going anywhere. And if you're with us here on the audio, stick around. We'll be right back after this break.
Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax. Relax, don't worry, no rush, what's the hurry? Relax, don't worry, don't worry, relax.
All right, Rich, relax. Don't worry. We're less than a week away from having a bunch of new Steelers talk about. That's going to be nice. I want to get your thought on this before we move away from the offense. John Malesko once again brought this up in the live chat. It says, Patterson should be a casualty. His contract isn't worth his production, especially in the return game. It's not going to be a huge amount that they gain. I just don't see it being worth their while to have him around.
Correct. You know, is there a gain? Yes, there's a gain. Is it a huge gain? No, not a huge gain. But are you better off to go ahead and cut ties now if you really don't think he's going to be one of the guys moving forward?
Yeah, to me, if they need it, do it. But if not, I mean, my goodness, that could be someone who you just cut down at 53. If you really wanted to, just to see because I mean, honestly, he was moving much better before he got hurt in week 4. He just didn't seem the same. He was running pretty well as a running back in that. He was the best running back in that Colts game, and then he got hurt.
Yeah. True.
Going to be gone soon. He very well could. He could be gone tomorrow. That's what we're talking, and it wouldn't shock me. But it also wouldn't shock me if he was around a training camp. But what would shock me more than anything is outside of if he's on the 53-man roster come September. So, yeah, those are some issues. You ready to here? Let's knock out special teams. Place kicker, no. Right?
Correct.
Hunter. They don't even need a body because both of them are under contract, which I didn't realize until, about a week or so ago. And I had to put it in our Slack channel. Like, did anyone else realize Corliss Waitman was under contract? And no one else did either. So they're good. And long snapper,
We're good.
even if they signed the best in the league, it wouldn't be a splash signing. But no, they've got a pretty good one already. So I think they're good to go there. So, Ray, let's hit the defense. You want to start in the front or the back?
It doesn't matter.
All right, let's start. Okay. We'll start in the front. Let's go defensive line.
Okay.
Defensive line. Do you think the Steelers make a splash there in free agency?
They could.
That's my answer too.
Yeah, this is one of those positions that I look at and say, okay, if the Steelers wanted to make a splash, this is a position where I could see that they would make a splash.
And I'll tell you, if they make a splash, Larry Ogunjobi has to be cut.
Correct.
That's simple.
Yes.
That's simple. Has to be. Can't pay him that amount of money if you're going to sign a splash free agent on the defensive line. You just can't. You're going to upgrade him is what you're going to do.
Yep. And this could be the ever famous, the splash is made and 6 hours later Ogunjobi's cut.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes they could literally announce it with the same when the Steelers announce it for real, they could announce it both at the same time. Or you could because the Steelers won't officially announce them until they sign them, we'll find out that because I got to remember with this when I'm going to be writing articles and stuff next week, is that we'll get the reports that someone's going to Pittsburgh, but we won't actually get the Steelers announcing it until they sign and they go to do the press conference. Like, think about it, Russell Wilson and all that happened on Friday when he had signed them, or not signed, but he had agreed to come on Sunday night. And it was Russell Wilson, Patrick Queen, and Deshaun Elliott, I think all at the same time did their press conferences, and that was on Friday when the legal tampering started Monday. So chances are, if there's a splash signing on the defensive line, we're going to hear about Larry Ogunjobi getting released before the Steelers ever officially announce the signing. I could see him being released. I could see a Dean Lowry being released. I could see Montravius Adams being released. But I would think any of those guys would be after a Larry Ogunjobi if there's a splash. And there's some splash out there to be made. I can't remember the name, but I know one of our regular commenters on the website who's come over from our old stomping grounds as someone that contributed a lot there. I can't remember the name. What's the name of the defensive lineman? The low key defensive lineman for the Eagles that's a free agent. I think his last name starts with the W. Hopefully someone can help me out.
Oh.
My internet's not good enough to try to look it up right now. I don't want it to kill my connection. That's somebody. Of course, Javon Hargrave has not been announced that he's officially been cut by the 49ers, but he's expected to be. That was announced a long time ago, and I don't ever think that was ever made official. There's some other names out there that you could see that might be available already or might not even be available yet, but could become available. But I'll even be honest with you, Rich. The Steelers could make their biggest splash at defensive line, and I could still see them drafting that position high in the draft.
Yeah, I could still, because depending on kind of what they're doing and how they're building and what they're thinking of for the future. You weren't thinking about Milton Williams, were you?
Yep, John Malesko's got it up there. Milton Williams.
Oh, that's funny. He put it up there right as I just found it. So I was like,
that's who it was. That would be a sneaky, interesting signing. That I would find. But yeah, defensive line is one that I'm not going to be upset if they don't do a thing on the defensive line in free agency, but I wouldn't be shocked if they went big there too. Yeah. I could really see that going on. And even if they went big in free agency, like I said, I still think they're going to go defensive line fairly early in the draft as well. I don't know if it would be first round if they're going to go big, but I don't know. Part of the reason I'm looking forward to free agency over the next couple of weeks is to kind of focus the draft a little bit better as well. Anything else you want to say about defensive line?
No, I think we covered it, good enough.
This is all speculation. I mean, my goodness,
I know, but it's
like
fun
one of the shortest lives. I mean, by this time next week, we'll never want to listen to this podcast again.
No, but that's why we do this, because it's a good time to do it. It's our last chance to really get in there and talk total speculation before we hit, the tampering period starting early next week. So
Yeah. Yeah. And as John Malesko says, they also have Sweat on the defensive line going into free agency as well. Then there's the whole idea the Eagles are apparently interested in trading for Myles Garrett. It's just there's a lot of moving pieces with a lot of teams. There might be somebody we're talking about next week that's a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers that we didn't even know was going to be available right now. That's what's going to be that's why it's so crazy and so fun doing free agency. I have to admit I know how much everybody loves the draft and everything, and I'm more into free agency because I've said it before. Free agency will shape your team for this year so much more than the draft does. Who you're going to be this year is really defined more in free agency, but where you're going to be going in the next several years is what's defined by your draft. So I'm ready for it. All right, let's keep rolling because we don't want an hour and a half show tonight.
no,
Outside linebacker.
no,
I think they're good.
yeah.
I mean, could there be like in a couple weeks a signing of somebody that's at a league minimum or not much more? That veteran salary benefit contract or something that they bring in there, maybe. But I'd be shocked if we're talking about a new outside linebacker for the Steelers this time next week. That's one that would shock me.
Would shock me as well. Just don't see it happening. Don't see the need right away for anything like that. So,
So, hey, good news. I just looked and we are now connected to Facebook. So hopefully we can see some of our Facebook commenters coming in here.
Oh, we were at the break.
Okay, I missed it.
Yeah.
So there, like I said, what could be surprising is that it could be a situation where there's a player that's not even available right now, becomes available, and then the Steelers sign him. That's just the nature of things this time of year. I think outside linebacker we're good. Let's go inside linebacker.
I wouldn't expect it this year as your splash was last year.
Yeah.
But I guess it could, but I just don't see that likelihood being near as high.
I don't either, because I think if you want to make your room better, you bring back a Landon Roberts to add depth to it, who's just a good team player, in my opinion. I mean, especially if Cole Holcomb is potentially now. If this, I could also see as another sneaky move. Steelers sign an inside linebacker you weren't expecting them to do, and then Cole Holcomb's released. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities. But I also would love more than anything in 6 months to be talking about how great Cole Holcomb's doing for the Steelers. That would just be a really good story. But there's just so much unknown there. It's hard to predict anything. So, so that's one of those that I think that's one that would surprise me the most. That's in play that the Steelers could do because, like you said, because they did it last year. We'll save the best for last. Next, we'll go safety.
Yeah, don't see anything major going on there.
I could see them adding another safety, but I mean, but
we're talking splash. I'm not seeing a
would
splash.
you have even called Deshaun Elliott splash last year?
See, I kind of did.
Well, I
thought that
signing him, I don't think was splash. I think he was your best free agent that you brought in last year, but I don't think at the time that was a really big signing compared to everything.
Oh, see, really, I thought that one was up there.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's almost like our borderline.
Yeah,
that one. I can see that.
That one was up there. I wouldn't have put it as the top splashy one, but that was one of those where I was like, "Ooh, we just got better at safety."
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but the Steelers do need somebody else set. They're going to need a third safety. I don't think they can bank on 7th round draft pick Ryan Watts, who missed this past year with a neck injury. I don't think that's where they're going. Could it even be something that they get in the draft? It could be, but to me, that's a mid signing. That's a mid signing position where you're going to say, "Oh, they added a safety," but it's not. It's not going to be anything that is a huge move of the needle, but it's going to fill a need of something that they need. Or they could surprise us and actually do something pretty decent at safety.
That's another one. It's like safety and inside linebacker were kind of the same for me. It just not expecting it. That your chances are small, but they're not totally gone.
Yeah, yeah. Because unless they're not going to give the quote unquote 3 safety look very much, and they want to do more with multiple cornerbacks on the field. But in order to do that, you have to have cornerbacks. So let's go ahead and roll to cornerbacks, where right now, if I'm not mistaken, okay, I should have this up so it shouldn't freeze me out. I'm looking at the cornerbacks the Steelers have right now. And if you look at it, all they have is rookie contract guys that are under contract as of the beginning of the league year. If I'm not mistaken. So as much as I'd be like, oh man, if they drafted corner high and you're kind of set at corner with Joey Porter and stuff going forward, do I like Corey Trice? Yes, I do. Am I going to bank on Corey Trice being the guy? Absolutely not. Same with Beanie Bishop. Those are 2 positions where you can look to upgrade. And then if those guys are just so good you can't keep them off the field, then that's a good problem to have. But Rich, do you think the Steelers make a splash at cornerback?
Possible. It is a place where lately, in the not so distant past, the Steelers have made some splash. Would not surprise me again if they chose to go that route, especially if they got a free agent that they feel is a very good complement to Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, and to me, I think they need a veteran leader in the room, because that would be very helpful to that, not just complimentary on the field, but complimentary in preparation and everything else. I think would be a really good thing. To me, I think it's a perfect storm for cornerback to be a splash free agent play this year. I think the Steelers not have, and notice I'm saying it's a free agent. It's not bringing back Dante Jackson or anything like that. This is somebody else from the outside coming in, because it's the Steelers. They have an opening starting position. They have salary cap space, and there's a pretty darn good market at cornerback when it comes to the free agent crop out there. And it's been increasing based on some of the other players that have been released. So to me, that makes a bit of a perfect storm for the Steelers to be able to maybe make a splash there.
It's I kind of like how you put kind of the perfect storm, because that was the other part I was thinking about it, because not only is it something the Steelers have looked at and done in that recent past, but that the position and what is out there as available free agents might be your best crop in quotes. Yeah. I think when looking at the free agent class, I think corner and defensive line, in terms of what the Steelers' needs are the 2 best places to go look.
Yeah.
Which is why I said when it comes to wide receiver, I'm not so sure you're going to see a splash, because I'm just not sure that market has as much splash in it. It has some good guys, but maybe not splash.
Yeah.
So do you look to get your splash in at corner or defensive line, and just go solid at wide receiver. Very possible. Of course, Omar Khan could turn around and do it exactly the opposite of what I just said, and
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that too. So
Yeah. Well, and see, here's the other thing with me. As kind of summing this up, and this is not our big question tonight because I have a different one. How many splash players do you expect the Steelers to sign based on their salary cap space? And this is now I'm going to say this is including anybody of their own from last year that they have to re-sign. How many significant contracts do you see the Steelers handing out in the next week and a couple days?
significant contracts 2/3.
I would say 4/5. So that's just I would love to see it, but that's I'm kind of I need to go west because that's my king of wishful thinking right there. I would love to see them make that better, including somebody like a Justin Fields and things like that. To say, oh, okay, there you go. They're going to let's say they they get a quarterback, a wide receiver, a cornerback, and maybe two other positions we weren't even expecting, or one of which could be defensive line, or somewhere else. I could see that this year with what they have. That would be a whole lot of fun. So, anything else you want to say about this before we go to our 5 minutes?
Nope. Let's go to 5 minutes.
Okay, this is my week to come up with one. So I was thinking about this today. I had two different ways I was going to go with this. Today I was outside looking for seashells, and I could hear the crashing of the waves and the smell of the salt air, and it was just so refreshing and relaxing, and it just kind of just put me in that mood that I was like, ah. So my question is this: what certain sounds or smells do you associate with something relaxing or traditional or enjoyable or anything of that regard? And I know you could take this in a very twisted way, but let's not do that.
Dude,
Mhm.
like it's like you're not gonna be surprised by my answers.
Okay.
There's two smells.
Okay.
Two smells and a sound.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I got you.
And I can actually put them all together. Okay. The first smell is worms in dirt.
Worms in dirt. I should have
Worms
known.
in dirt. I wish the good pastor Tim Pratt was out there in the live chat tonight to hear me say worms in dirt, because he'd get a chuckle out of the in dirt part.
Yeah.
Worms in dirt, along with the smell of fish.
Mhm.
But to get to that, the best sound is the zzz sound of the drag stripping off my fishing reel.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. That's
Put
pretty
them all together, and
Mhm.
I'm in heaven.
Yeah.
So
good. So okay. So now, all right. See there, I finally see a Facebook comment coming in. It's good to see Rob King, who I've been communicating with a little bit, getting in there now that we're out on Facebook. All right. For me, there's nothing like, generally you get this 2, maybe 3 times a year. Thanksgiving, Christmas, occasionally Easter. There's nothing like the smell of the turkey in the oven coming for you for that great meal that you're going to be having. There's not much there. It doesn't get much better than that.
of course you actually turn into
Mhm.
eating. It's like I'm thinking of where do I really enjoy and relax? Dave is I guess Dave, you enjoy and relax at the dinner table. So
Yeah.
that's-
Well, I mean, there you have to admit there's not much of that. But I have another one that's not food related.
but Dave, first good meal you've had since Christmas, right?
Yeah, that's right. Okay. But I'm going to throw this one out there, and I think people will understand what I'm talking about. You ever have one of those hot summer days, and you get to the evening, and you can hear the rumble of the thunder in the distance. But when it first starts to rain, not pouring, it's not getting ready to pour anything, but when it first starts to rain and you smell that the dust settling from the rain hitting whether the blacktop or the concrete or the gravel or wherever it is, just that smell of that summer rain whenever it's first starting settling that dust. You know what smell I'm talking about?
I do.
That's a good
As soon
one.
as you started to talk, I knew where you were going.
Yeah.
So
Here,
that's a good one.
John Malesko, love the smell of fresh cut grass. Mowing the yard is me time where I can just let my thoughts wander. I don't let my thoughts wander because I have noise canceling headphones, but underneath my noise canceling headphones, I have my earbuds in listening to Steel Curtain Network podcasts whenever I'm mowing my grass. But that's a good one. Okay. And of
That
course,
is a
we're
good
getting
one.
people.
Except
Yeah.
you know the smell of that fresh cut grass. That's actually your grass screaming.
As you
Trying to
murder
warn,
it.
trying to warn the other grass in the area that there's a problem. I wish I could say I do love to mow my yard. I get what he's talking
Yeah,
about with that
I
me
do too.
time. I if I have to be careful though because as I cut grass because I get very bad allergies to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the smell of the fresh cut grass at times, but I still have to be careful of it, or I end up in a sneezing fit.
Yes, I know what you mean. See, and that's the thing. I also always like to smell the fresh cut hay, but the hay is what would really get me going. Another thing I got to throw out is sometimes when I just need to calm down, I'll look up one of my videos from, oh my goodness, it'll be 2 years ago this coming June, when for my 20th anniversary went to Niagara Falls, and I'll just take one of the videos I have that's like 2 minutes long, and just play it to listen to the falls and listen to that water roaring. You know, it's different than the ocean. The ocean is one thing, but it's different enough. That's one that I can think
The
of.
ocean is rhythmic.
Mm-hmm.
Niagara Falls is constant.
Constant. Yep. So I will say one last thing as we go to turn into this another sound that always gets me going is when you hear the words, "Oh, mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law." It doesn't have to be at Acrisure Stadium. It could be anytime. It's a good day when you hear Renegade come on the radio.
Gives me goosebumps.
Yep. Every time. Every
Every
time.
time.
Oh my goodness. And I trained my daughter well. One time she told me the story. She was riding with my wife, and Renegade came on the radio, and my wife flipped the channel, and my daughter smacked her hand and changed it back and said, "You don't change that, Mom. Dad would be furious." So that's bringing it back to the Steelers. Like I said, it's an experience. Every time I hear that song, that's just how it goes. All right, Rich, let's close it up with the big question here. And I think you know what this one's going to be. And so if you get ready there in the live chat with your answers after Rich and I answer this, it's going to be when we do our show next Tuesday night at 9:00. Hopefully, even if it's not day one, we at least get a splash signing in day two. So this might not even be by the time of our show. I'm just hoping it is. But when the dust settles, and you smell that from the rain coming, when the dust settles, what position will the Steelers have made the biggest splash in free agency in 2025?
All right.
Now remember, if you're signing one of your own, that doesn't count.
I know. I don't know. This is just a feeling that I have, and so I'm going to go with it. And I just have the feeling that it is going to be a defensive lineman.
Really?
I do.
Really? I was torn between two, And defensive lineman wasn't one of them, but I would be happy with that. I would. Me, I'm going to go with the perfect storm, and I'm going to say cornerback. I think the Steelers are going to sign a pretty big name, decent contract cornerback just because of how everything's going.
That's
I've got
where
it out there.
and that to me was the easy. That's where I would kind of want to go, but for some reason, we as soon as we hit the off season, I've just had this feeling.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the feeling.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I'm sure there's a number of people that they might not even be here to say it. If you don't think the Steelers end up signing either Fields or Wilson, then chances are that what you should be putting is quarterback.
Yeah.
If you think that they're not going to get either one of them. Just because the salary, what it's going to have to be to get one, whether they're that impressive or not. But here we go. We got Gavin Anthony. He's saying the other one I was considering, wide receiver. Right now, I'm not sure who that player would be. That's why I went more with cornerback, because I think there's more options, more bigger options for that one. Reginald Rivers also says wide receiver. Afton, she's with you, Rich. She's got defensive line. Eric Parker's got wide receiver. Mr. Woodside, he's going D line, which I could say as well. And poor Kathy's just getting here. So that's what we have so far. So at least you have someone agreeing with you. Kathy, she's going wide receiver. Rob King, he's got cornerback. John Malesko, he's got wide receiver. He says just because he thinks Khan will make it a point to do so.
I could see that's actually a good point at the end there.
Yes, to me, if you're going to say if the Steelers overpay anywhere, I'm thinking you could say maybe they overpay quarterback. You can make that argument. I could see them overpaying at wide receiver more than anywhere else, just because they're almost to a point where they have to. Kevin Osborne, he's got cornerback. So does David Poe as cornerback going there. So I noticed no one said quarterback. No one said quarterback.
That's because everybody really expects the Steelers to bring back one of the two from last year.
Yeah. And Brent House says cornerback as well. I really do too. To me, if the Steelers don't, then I'm worried that they're going to have to reach panic mode. If the plan doesn't go the way they're looking for it. See, last year you could say the plan did not go the way things didn't go as they planned, but they went in a different way that was actually an improvement, or at least it felt that way at the time. I still think it was an improvement. But to me, that would be hard to do this year. I think that would be hard to do, to have to go a different route than what the Steelers were expecting and make it actually turn out better than what it would have been if they went the way they thought. So, yeah. So with that, I think that's what we have here coming in for the live chat. That's all I've seen so far. Fingers crossed, my connection's been pretty good the whole night. Yes. But Rich, I'm excited to get back to our show next week with my flag behind me talking about new members of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Until then, we'll have plenty of shows this week coming at you from Steel Curtain Network. We'll have the regular lineup. I don't know what's going on still with Steel City Insider. Of some issues that they're having there. So we haven't been having that show for a while, but we've got great new shows. Like today was Marky D's show. Sorry, Marky D, I didn't get to listen to it yet because of everything going on. We've got Roy Countryman's Black and Gold Blueprint with him and Rob on Fridays. That's been a newer show from this spring. We'll continue. I don't know if I'm going to be on the Steelers preview yet on Thursday. Because of finishing up vacation here. I'm hoping to, but it's not definite. I'm not going to make Jeff and Brian's schedule around me. But if I am there, it might only be for part of it, or who knows? Maybe it works out that I can do it. I will be I will be with Greg, and I will bring you a Pittsburgh Standard Time Thursday morning if you're listening to those. But make sure you check out all the podcasts. And honestly, everyone, still, if you're hearing my voice right now and you have not gone to steelcurtainnetwork.com, what are you waiting for? We've been getting some great discussions in the comments and a lot of praise. And not only that, I like seeing some names that I haven't seen for a while since our old site, meaning back at the Behind the Steel Curtain days. So that's good to see some people coming back. We've also had some people saying, hey, followed you guys when you were there, didn't know where you went. But because of something going on there, they found us. That's great. Join the community, join in. We really are trying to focus on quality over quantity. We're not trying to drives me nuts. Seeing a headline like, oh, former Steelers defensive back trashes the defensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. And when you actually read the quote, it's that he said, I didn't like when they had us do that. It wasn't trashing anything. It was a sensational headline with a really disappointing story because of it, because it didn't really match what was going on. We've been doing everything we can to stay away from those kind of things. But we do want to report on things that are happening. And when there are reports out there of things that are going on, we're going to bring them up. It's not like we're going to make the biggest deal out of every ridiculous thing, but like, hey, when the Trevor Lawrence news came out, we put it out there. What do you think, Steelers fans? And we had a lot of great discussion. So make sure you're checking it out, steelcurtainnetwork.com, if you haven't already done it. That is part of Fans First Sports Network. And that website has a new domain at ffsn.com, where you can go and find articles on all kinds of different sports things there. Let's see. Did any more come up while I wasn't looking? That I wanted to make sure I didn't. Oh, wait, Stu Dog 88.
Yep.
At quarterback. Didn't want to miss that. So, Rich, what do you have here to close us out tonight?
Dave, next week is what I call, when we have our show, we'll then be into the official beginning of the off season.
Yes.
You've been in the off season, meaning not playing games, but the beginning of the off season to me is when you can begin doing football business.
Yes.
And that is next week, that football business can be back and out there. Not that you can't do business, but you're so limited with what you can do the past 6 weeks. So it really comes down to things getting kicked off and getting going. And to me, from there, then everything just continues to just snowball. Dave, I know what we didn't bring up and talk about tonight, but I watched some stuff here and there, and there wasn't much to talk about, and that was the combine.
Hey, I let others that pay attention to it, I let them do the talking.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't catch so much live, but I was catching, just snippets here and there of things going on. Look, if there was anything I actually learned from some of the stuff going on, is I went back and I looked at like the top, 6 or 8 guys ever on the bench press reps. You want to know how many of them I recognized as NFL players? 0.
Really? Yeah.
So it's like, you can take some of those measurable things that you can say, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, it's this, that, and that doesn't always matter.
That's true.
So, but before we even get into that, look at the new guys, like, in terms of, new guys to the NFL, we're going to be into free agency. We're going to be talking about something next week. We know we are. We know we are not going to be here next Tuesday night and not have something to talk about. We know there's going to be something to talk about. And to me, that just starts up the excitement. Can't wait.
All right.